Good afternoon, Villa fans, and welcome to an Aston Villa transfer talk. Wanted to jump on today. Is it time for Jack Grealish to make a return to Aston Villa? I know that these podcasts have been doing the rounds, so I wanted to throw my sort of 2 pence into the conversation as well. And I'm in the camp of firmly believing that Jack Grealish would be an excellent signing for Aston Villa, given our sort of current situation and the way that we are going. And I would definitely welcome Jack Grealish back to the club. He's been frozen out at Manchester City, didn't make the squad for the last day of the season, hasn't made the squad for the World Club Cup, whatever you want to call it. He's basically been told he's surplus to requirements, and Pep has pretty much replaced him with Ryan Cherki coming in as well. So it's time for Jack to leave Manchester City, but where does he go? Clubs have been linked. I think Newcastle, Everton, maybe a move abroad has been mentioned. And then obviously a return back to his boyhood club, Aston Villa, who are a much different team now. You have to admit, we are a much different team to the team that Jack left all those years ago. That back then we were sort of struggling and fighting to stay in the Premier League and staying up on the last day of the season, for example. And now we're on this upward trajectory with Unai Emery at the wheel, leading us into deep into domestic competitions, the semi-final of FA Cup, getting into European competitions, Champions League, Europa Conference League, and now the Europa Cup as well, or Europa League. So we're in a very strong position now. And Jack would be returning to a team where I'm sure the fan base would have mixed opinions. But I think if you pulled on the Villa shirt again, I think the fans would be fully backing him and back on side with him. I think he's a player that brings immense quality. I haven't seen a player. I've been supporting Aston Villa for 35 years. I haven't seen a player probably better than Jack Grealish, the way he was controlling games for us. Some in the Championship, but also some in the Premier League when we were back up as well. I think he's probably one of the best players that I've seen play for Aston Villa in the 35 years that I've been watching them. He's very much a ball carrier, or has been a ball carrier. Pep has kind of coached that kind of out of him. And I think we'd love to see Jack Grealish back in a Villa shirt, driving with the ball like he used to. He was probably the best ball carrier that I've seen for England anyway, since like a Paul Gascoigne. We've had the likes of Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard and Paul Scholes, but I wouldn't call them kind of natural kind of ball carriers. But Jack Grealish had this quality to, go past players, use his strength, use his acceleration. But we just haven't seen that at Manchester City, where he's been predominantly just thrown out on the wing. And I think the position that we would have for him, because we play with those tucked in kind of midfield players, especially from the left where Jacob Ramsey kind of plays. He doesn't play sort of wide and hugging the touchline. So I think that position there would be so suited for Jack Grealish. Having Grealish from that left, having Morgan Rogers in the 10, and then someone out on the right like Nonu Madueke, for example, who can offer width and pace. That would be an exciting, frightening, and attacking lineup, I believe. And then you've got other players that could sort of join in with that as well, the likes of Daniel Marlon, John McGinn, Yuri Tielemans. And obviously, if we're looking at someone like Jack Grealish to come in at 29 years of age, then we're probably not looking at someone like Marcus Rashford or Asensio, because it's Asensio's similar age to Grealish. We'd obviously have to look at the wages as well. He's on about reported 300k a week at Manchester City. It's more likely to be a loan deal than it is to be a permanent deal, unless Jack was to take, a 50% pay cut in his salary to join Villa, which I don't think is beyond the realms. He's got a World Cup coming up next year. He wants to play for England. He hasn't been picked again for the squad by Thomas Tuchel. And Tuchel has claimed to be a Grealish fan, but said that I can't pick him because he doesn't play, which is fair enough. You can't. So he needs to be playing week in, week out, regular football, build the love of the fans behind him again. And I think the way that he can get a smile back on his face is back at Villa Park. So I'm all for this. It's obviously the PSR point of view and how we can make it work. And obviously, as I said, the wage and whether it's going to be a loan or can we get him on a permanent deal where he takes a massive cut in wages. It depends on what Jack wants as well. If he wants to really fight for an England place, then obviously he's got to take football over money, football over finances. It's simple. and coming back to somewhere like Villa where he would fit in seamlessly into the team. He knows a few of the players from his first time with the club as well, likes of Ezri Konsa, likes of Tyrone Mings, who just signed a new contract, Ollie Watkins, Ross Barkley, John McGinn's obviously his best mate, I think, in football. So he knows a lot of the players there. And he would be, for me, an excellent player for Villa to bring back in. I think I would take him over Asensio. I think I would take him over Marcus Rashford, and even though I would love Rashford to come back as well. But that doesn't look very likely to me. But Jack Grealish returning could be on the cards, and it could really help shape our season for next season. And for him to come back to a Villa team where we could be competing, and he could be a big part of that, get back into the England squad, make us, fight for honours domestically and in Europe and in the Europa League. I just think all the pieces are falling into place for Jack Grealish to return. I really do. I would love to see it. I would love to know your thoughts about it as well, guys. In the comments, let me know what you would feel about Jack Grealish coming back in to Aston Villa. We got 100 million for this guy as well, remember. So he didn't just leave us and bog off on like a free transfer somewhere and leave us in the limbo. We did get 100 million, which helped us, steady the finances for a number of years after he left. And now we're on a different kind of journey, with Unai Emery. We're looking up, we're looking challenging, we're there and competing for Champions League places. We're there, we can give anyone a game on our day. And having someone like Grealish in there with Morgan Rogers, learning from him, and as well, and having someone out on the right, would be so good. I just think it would make total sense to bring him back. I really, really do. And I can't see him wearing another team's kit. I can't see him in a Newcastle kit. I can't see him in an Everton kit. I can't see him going abroad anywhere. He's just recently become a family man as well. I'm sure that he'd want to stay in the Premier League. He wants to be where Thomas Tuchel can keep a close eye on him and play in a really competitive league. So I think going out to places like Saudi, like Serie A, there's been rumours about Serie A, maybe Napoli coming in for him or places like that. I can't see it. I can't see him going anywhere there. I think Villa would make sense. Whether it's a loan, whether it's a permanent, I think it just makes total sense for him to come back to Villa and get his love of football again, because I think that's what's been missing over the last few years. Yeah, he's won a few trophies at City, he won a treble there as well, but recently he has not been playing part in what they're doing. I think it's 7 Premier League starts, I heard. I don't think his legs are gone. I think he's just not been picked. I just don't think he suits Pep's system. I think Pep doesn't like that sort of player where you can have a bit of freedom at Villa. He could come in and be the main man again. I know he was a main man when he was here the first time round. It was almost like, just give Grealish the ball all the time. Just whenever you're in trouble, you can give it to Grealish. You can hold it up. You can win a free kick. You can go past players. It was all about into Grealish. It's like that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode. I don't know if you've seen it, where Will Smith's playing for the college basketball team, and the tactics from the coach are just pass it to Will. In this case, just pass it to Jack. Let him do his thing. But we've got players that can complement him now. He's not streets above. He's not playing with the likes of Matt Targett. No disrespect. He's not playing with the likes of Conor Hourihane, Marvelous Nakamba. He's not surrounded by these sorts of players. He's now got Kamara, Tielemans, Rogers, we've got other players, Matson, we've got players that can come off the bench, McGinn as well. So it's a whole different ball game now for Aston Villa. And I'm sure winning a trophy with Aston Villa, wherever it may be, whether it's a Carabao Cup, whether it's Europa League, would mean more to him than lifting the Premier League with City. I think it would mean more to him to win a trophy with Aston Villa, his boyhood club, where he's come through the academy, and it just makes total sense. So that's my kind of 10 minutes on Jack Grealish to come back, and I really want him to. The other transfer rumours that have been circulating around, there's been links with a couple of strikers recently as well. We've been linked with, let me get his name right, is it El Nesri from Fenerbahce, 28-year-old, I think he's Moroccan striker. links of 20 million for him. He's very much a striker who is a fox in the box. Comes alive in the box, like a lot of goals from sort of inside the box and tapping, converting chances. He's 6'2", 28, 20 million. He's played fairly regularly for Fenerbahce in the Turkish league. Got around sort of 20 goals there, I think it is. Would he want to come to Aston Villa and, remember this, be in a rotation or a backup to Ollie Watkins? That's the big question when you're bringing in any striker at the moment. Doesn't look like Ollie Watkins is going to be leaving. I think he's going to be staying put with us. But then we need a striker that can complement him, challenge him. I don't think we're looking for an out-and-out striker. I think we're looking for someone that can play as a striker, maybe from the wide play positions as well, like a Marcus Rashford kind of did for us. We've got Daniel Mal on there, obviously, it can do the job. But I think we're looking for someone that has a better presence up front as well, and maybe gives us something a little bit different, a bit bigger, hold up the ball maybe. And I'll come on to two young options that I think Villa could be looking at as well. But El Nesri, for me, 28 years of age, is he going to want to come in as a backup to Watkins? We're going to play 60 games probably next season. We are going to need competition. I just don't know if he's the right sort of player. I've watched a little bit of him on YouTube, and he reminds me of Jonathan Kodjia a little bit. Remember Jimmy Danger from a few years ago? The way he kind of moves, the way he kind of runs, the finishes that he does are very sort of Jonathan Kodjia-esque to me. So that's the sort of player you'd be getting. But if he comes in, great. We'll definitely support him. But I can't see it happening. The other names that have been linked there's a left back called Adrien Teffert, who's been linked with a move to Villa as well from Liga. Not too sure that we need another left back. We've got Digne and Martin there, unless Digne is on the way out, but I'm not sure that he will be. So I think that rumour is probably going to really fizzle out. I think he's been linked with Brighton as well. I think, or Bournemouth, sorry. No, Bournemouth. I think they see him as a replacement maybe for Milos Kerkez, who could be Liverpool bound. So, he could be heading to Bournemouth pretty soon. So that would make more sense than coming to Villa and being another left back when we don't need it. So other transfer rumours is a young 19-year-old French midfield player called Valentin Atangana from Reims. He's 19, big centre midfield player. Been watching him apparently. One for the future. Whether we buy him now, loan him back out again, is probably the right thing to do, seeing as we've got, Onana as a backup. We've got Barrenechea coming back in, Ross Barkley still there, John McGinn can play as a CDM. So I don't see why we would bring him in and keep him. He'd probably be maybe someone that we'd bring in and maybe keep him out on loan at Reims in the French league for a year or two and see how he progresses there, similar to what we did with Barrenechea, bringing him in and then loaning him out. So possibly an incoming there. The other striker that we've been linked with is Samu as well from FC Porto, Spanish striker, very big, imposing striker. I can't see this one happening. They've recently just bought him. Again, he's going to want to play regularly. He's not going to settle for a place on the bench. I think he wants to play week in, week out, which he has been at Porto. Why would he leave that to come to Aston Villa, sit on our bench or in a rotation with Ollie Watkins? Can't see Samu coming in. The two names that I did want to talk about, two young players that have been linked with Villa, or haven't been linked with Villa, but maybe we should be having a look at, in fact. So I've been sort of scouring sort of the transfer market and the stats and the up-and-coming kind of strikers that are around at the moment. And there are two names that spring to mind, two big, imposing units as well. The first one is a striker called Thiero Barry, who plays for Villarreal. So a club that Unai Emery is very familiar with. He's only 21 years of age. He's French. He's 6'5". He came from Basel to Villarreal for 4 million only last year in August. So he's only had this season. He's got 19 goals in 41 appearances this season. Not bad for a 21-year-old. And he's 6'5". He can still move. He's good at holding up the ball. He's obviously an aerial threat. He's got a 20 million transfer market value. But Thiero Barry is someone that potentially we could be looking at. And I think, Unai Emery will probably have an idea about this player already, given that he plays for Villarreal. So that could be one to watch, Thiero Barry. The second player that I wanted to sort of link us with and I've had a look at is a Canadian striker, not Jonathan David, who is available on a free, looking to leave Lille. I can't see him coming to Villa again to be a backup. But there is another player, Canadian striker, a striker called Promise David. Bit of an unusual name. He's a 23-year-old Canadian who I think is also Nigerian as well, but he's Canadian capped. He's also 6'5". He plays in Belgium for Union Saint-Gallen. Only joined them last year as well in July 24, only for 600,000, and he joined them from an Estonian team. So, you know, really kind of obscure kind of league that he's kind of joined from. But he's got an impressive 24 goals in 41 games. And he's just won the Belgian title with Union Saint-Gallen, where he scored 2 goals on the final day to secure the title. He's 6'5". He looks like a bit of a raw kind of rough diamond that might need polishing up, but he's certainly got the tools, the physique, the strength. He's very composed in the box. He scored 4 out of 4 penalties last season, which is obviously something that we might need to look at as well. So Promise David, just remember the name. He's a 23-year-old Canadian striker playing in Belgium at the moment. He's just had that move to Belgium last year, so it's a breakout season for him. He could be someone that we look at. I mean, I watched him play, and again, physical unit, reminds me of like an Amadou Onana. He's sort of similar size to Amadou Onana, but he can finish. He can get away from players. I mean, granted, the players that he was playing against in the Belgian league were half his size, they look like, and, you know, weren't able to physically handle him. So how would he do in the Premier League against, you know, real athletes and things like that? It'd be interesting to see. But, you know, if they bought him for 600,000 a year ago, yes, he's banged in the goals this season. You know, if you put in a bid between 5 and 10 million, would that be enough? 10 to 12 million perhaps? Would that be enough to get him? And as a backup striker, 23 years of age, you know, you think he'd be happy with that kind of rotation kind of basis as well. Interesting. So just 2 names that I wanted to throw out there. We haven't been linked with them as yet, but from what I've seen, what the eyeballs have seen, they look like decent players. So Thiero Barry from Villarreal and Promise David from Union Saint-Gallen. Just have a look at those 2. But yeah, so I just wanted to jump on and give some talk about transfers and who we're looking at and what I think about the Jack Grealish possible return. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. If you have made it this far in the video, do like, do subscribe, do all the things that are necessary to drive the channel. We are looking for more subscribers. I want to hear from you guys about transfer targets. Until the next video, enjoy your working day. Bye for now.